Hi, welcome to the 28th episode of the TheNainaRedhuExperience. This is Naina here, obviously. So far, it's just me doing all the talking. Maybe at some point when I have the infrastructure and the patience to have a conversation with someone, we might have someone else. But for now, it's just me. Today, I am planning to talk about this question that I have been getting, especially over the last 2, 3 weeks. People have left comments and have asked me in person, and I have seen other videos where this question has been asked from other influencers. So the question is, and I'm going to read it: do you think it is too late to start a new Instagram, Snapchat, or YouTube channel? What advice do you have for people that are aspiring to become influencers, especially now that there's so many already? Wow, there's so much in that. I'm going to try not to be pedantic, but in short, the answer is no, it's not too late. But you have to understand where I'm coming from. A lot of bloggers or people who have become influencers, for example, via blogging or via their social media feeds, etc. Most of these people are who started like a decade ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago. There are some who started maybe in the last 2 years, only on Instagram, for example, and have amassed a following of 100,000 or a 300,000 followers. But I'm not too sure where those numbers came from. I have heard allegedly. I know Joe Rogan uses the word allegedly all the time. I'm going to start using it too. Most of those numbers are bought. They are not real followers. They are people, you go to an agency or someone who's willing to sell you followers on Instagram or whatever. Most of these people who have these 300,000 or 100,000 followers on Instagram, for example, have either no blog, or if they do have a blog, it has like a minuscule viewing of 500 to 2,000 page views every month. Now, my blog, when it does well, in the sense that I'm blogging consistently and I put up some Facebook ads, I get 80 to 90,000 page views last I checked. Now, I haven't been doing Facebook ads for the last 1 month. I completely stopped because Facebook was, I don't know, it was being really weird. Even though I know some really senior people in Facebook India, even they were not able to help me out. And so I just basically gave up and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I am spending money here. I can save some money here. Instead of spending money, let me focus on actually creating content for the blog and attempting more regular blogging, for example, more regular stories that I would be forced to look at. So in the last 1 month, without Facebook ads, my page views are 45,000, which is actually quite good. I thought it would go down to maybe 20,000. So 45,000 is what it was at. I last checked 2 days ago. So 45,000 page views. I have about 36,000 followers on Instagram. And so it's not, don't look at getting on these platforms and suddenly you will have 100,000 followers. If you are, first of all, I think looking at being an influencer as a career choice, it's it's stupid. Okay, it's silly. You There is no such thing as a career influencer. You have to have something that you do and you do well, and you have people that are influenced by your choices or the things that you say, which makes you an influencer. You can't just wake up one morning and say, okay, I want to be an influencer, and but what do you do to become that influencer? There are things you need to do. For example, I'm a photographer. Because of the work that I do as a photographer, I used to share all my photographs on my blog. I used to share images. I used to share images from places I went to eat food, time I spent with my family, so portraits, travel, hotels I stayed at. So I used to do that anyways. Assignments that I shot with clients, for example. Because I was and am a photographer and I shared my work, brands started looking at me as someone who has influence over a certain number of people who look at my work, like my work, follow my work, want to see my updates, etc. So that made me an influencer. I didn't wake up one morning and say, oh, hey, I want to be an influencer. So what do I do now? If you have to have something that you already do, and then you can do something based on that to become an influencer. You could be, for example, you could be a doctor. I'll take an example of a friend of mine who's an amazing physiotherapist. Okay, he's really really good, like one of the best I've ever been to. He has influence with high net worth individuals. He has influence with celebrities. He has influence with sports, people who follow sports, people who are into fitness, for example. Now he already does his physiotherapy really well. Yeah, Saif, shout out to you, you're awesome. He is Dr. Blue Monk on Instagram. I'll link it in the comment, in the caption or the description of this blog, because I don't really remember if it is dr dot blue monk or it's just dr blue monk. Now he doesn't blog. He barely has any social media presence. If he did, then he is an influencer. Brands would definitely come to him and say, sports brands would come to him. Any kind of brands that related to fitness, uh, anybody actually would find it useful to work with him, because he has an audience that would give credence to his recommendations. So his pre-existing expertise is as a physiotherapist, and now he can be an influencer on the basis of that. He can create stories around what clients he was working with before and after, how a client felt after he worked on them for 3 months, who are the national level cricketers he works with. He could do so many assignments with them as an influencer, but before that he's a physiotherapist. So the asking the question that what was the question? How do I become an influencer? You first figure out what is it that you already do. You can't just come out of college and wear dresses and wear clothes and pose with bags, etc., and suddenly become an influencer. It doesn't work like that. The time for that is past. So if you are thinking that you're 19 and 20 and you're just out of college and you have enough money to buy clothes every 15 days and buy bags, and you'll suddenly start posing and brands will want to work with you, no. I don't think that is sustainable. You might still be able to pull it off if you have the resources to do it, maybe in the next 1 or 2 years. But no, that will not work, because brands are now also realizing that that's not the audience they're looking for. Most of these influencers are people who can afford to buy these clothes and these bags, and their audiences are younger students who can't really afford most of these clothes and bags and accessories, or going to these restaurants, for example. So it's not just about being an influencer. What is it that you do on the basis of which then you become an influencer? Influencer is not a tag you can put on yourself and say, hi, I'm an influencer. I've tried it. I don't think it works, because it's the perception of your followers and the perception of the brands and the work that you do, the actual influence that you have, that makes you an influencer. It's like you can't go to someone and say, hey, become my mentor. I mean, that's not how it works. You can't call up someone you admire and look up to and say, hey, be my mentor. Can you imagine the number of calls they must already be getting? A mentor-mentee relationship, it goes both ways. It's something that you usually fall into, and it's someone else might look at me as a mentor, but I'm not going to say I am their mentor. And I can be someone's mentor without even me knowing about it, just because they listen to my videos or my podcast, and they follow my blog, they read my wtfnaina.com posts, and they know how the industry works, they've learned something from it. So they might say that I'm their mentor, but I'm not their mentor. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing as an influencer. So I don't think that is the right thing to aim for. It is not a career option. You have to have a separate career option, and then maybe you will be an influencer if you do your social strategy, digital strategy right. That's where that comes in. If you are planning to do that, then no, it's not too late. It's like asking, I recently tweeted also that, is it too late to be an influencer or a blogger, for example, or to get onto Instagram? No, I mean, is it too late to be an engineer? Is it too late to do an MBA? Is it too late to be a photographer? Is it too late to be a chef or anything? Just take anything else. Is it ever too late? I mean, people have been wanting to become doctors and engineers for forever. How many IITs and IIMs do we have in India? So no, it's never too late if you are looking at it for the right reasons and you understand the things that you need to do, there is only one you. You are, in that sense, there's no one else like you. So the style or the eye or the individuality that you would bring to your work would be yours and yours alone. You have to do that work, and then you have to blog about it or put it up on Instagram. So again, I'll give you my example. As a photographer, my goal, and which I've totally picked up from Chase Jarvis, who's this photographer that I admire, and he's a really cool guy. He says, as a photographer, you must shoot, edit, and share. These 3 steps are extremely important if you want to have regular work as a photographer. I'm not going to talk about success because I don't know how to define success and my definition might be different from yours. First, you have to shoot. As a photographer, if you're not shooting, you're not making photos, you're not finding photos, then you are not a photographer. You have to do it constantly, continually, etc. The second step is, once you've shot it, you must edit. And it's not post-production. It's also about curating, selecting what it is that you're putting outside. Like, you might shoot 50,000 images every month, but you don't have to share all 50,000. You might have shot 500,000 images in your entire career, but on your portfolio, like if you have a book or if the main page of your website is your portfolio, then you show only 20 photos there. And those 20 photos will span your entire career, whatever you've shot till date. This is something that I find extremely hard to do, but that editing is what the world sees. Those are images you have produced, and that is what you're selling. That's the work that you want from clients. So a client will look at that work that you do and be, okay, we need to hire this photographer because that's the work we need for this assignment. So you shoot, you edit, and most importantly, you share. Otherwise, what's the point of doing all that work? How will people know about the work that you do? You could be a chef, you could be a physiotherapist, you could be a photographer, but if people are not talking about your work, whether it is word of mouth or if it is on social media or blog, your work deserves it. You owe it to your work. You're a great writer, but no one's ever read what you write. What is the point of that? You need to put it out in the world, and a lot of us don't do it because we are constantly worried about criticism, that what will people think, what if they don't like it. Who gives a fuck? You have to put it out there. Not everyone's going to like your work anyways. Not everyone's going to like you. No matter how much you want everyone to just love you, you might not want to admit it in public that, oh, I want everyone to like me. I mean, I know I want everyone to like me. I want everyone to be like, oh my god, Naina's so nice and she's so awesome. But I know there are people who think I'm a bitch and they won't say it to my face. Maybe they'll say it to my face, but I want everyone to like me. But I'm also aware that that's never going to happen. So I can't hold myself or my work back just because I want everyone's approval. I mean, it is still scary. I've been a photographer for so long now, but even now, whenever I put out new work, I'm like, oh my god, I don't know what people are going to say. Are they going to completely hate it? What if the subject in the photo hates it? Like, I recently put out this new series that I've started doing. It's a series of portraits, and you can see it on eyesforpeople.com. It's basically portraits of people that I'm doing because I have the new Nikon 85mm 1.4, and I've been wanting to do these portraits for a long time, but I was scared. I was scared to walk up to people and ask them if it was okay to take their portraits, because it's a really close-up portrait. It's like just, this much. And it's really, really close. It's a very tight frame. And a lot of us are very self-conscious about how we look, so I wasn't sure people were going to say yes, no, whatever. And once I did shoot it and I did edit it, I agonized over whether I'd edited the eyes too much, whether I should tone it down a little, should I do some retouching on people's skin, should I get rid of wrinkles. I mean, in the end, I decided to just brighten up the eyes a bit so that the twinkle in the eye is a little more prominent. But apart from that, I haven't done anything. I haven't touched wrinkles. I haven't retouched face structure. And then I agonized once I published it. I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. What if someone says that this is bad and they want me to remove it? What is the response going to be like? So it's always going to be scary when you're doing something new. That never changes. But you have to share it. And I did start putting out the portraits, and so far the response has been amazing. Everyone has liked it. None of the subjects have so far told me that they want me to remove the photo. I hope that never happens, because I think the photos are amazing. If I don't like the photo, I myself will not put it up. So yeah, I mean, it's not too late. You could start making portraits like that and blogging about it. I mean, this is not a unique idea, making people's portraits and putting them on the internet. I mean, I'm not the first photographer to do it by any means. There have been classics, masters before me who have done it, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't do it because it's been done earlier. You know, no idea belongs to one person. Once it's out there, you can improvise on it, you can put your own twist to it, and you can do whatever the hell you want to do with it as long as you're doing it. Shoot, edit, and share. And on the basis of that, now, for example, if I'm doing portraits, a brand, for example, might have a new CEO, right? And they say, okay, we want to talk about this new CEO who's come in, and it's a woman, for example, and she's really dynamic. So we want her to appear on a blog, for example, and we also want a really good portrait. So a brand might come to me and say, hey, you know what, we know you do these portraits, can you do one for our CEO? So they hire me as a photographer, and I will share that person's photograph on my blog, and they might say, hey, do you mind writing a small paragraph about that person? So when I go and meet that person and I shoot that portrait, I will have a conversation with them. I'll find out a little more about them. I'll spend some time with them. And on the basis of that, then I will write maybe, 10, 15 lines. And so now the brand has a story that an influencer did. And they also have a portrait. I also have a portrait. I got paid as a photographer to do that. And the brand got, social media and marketing and digital and whatever. So it becomes like a campaign. So that's the influencer bit in this. So as a photographer, I'm doing what I do and what I enjoy the most, which is being a photographer and shooting, editing, and sharing. But as an influencer, I also happen to really, really enjoy blogging. So whenever I shoot something, I'm very eager to come back and be like, oh my god, let me just quickly edit it. Why can't I just put it up now? Like, I want to edit it, put it up now so that I can show it off to everyone and be like, hey, this is what I did. And people come and tell you, or you get whatever criticism or praise. I mostly like praise, obviously. So it's not too late, no. But what is the basis of you doing it? Like, I'm not just randomly posting shit on Instagram. For me, my blog and Instagram and social media has always been a way to share my life. And I'm always happy to share my life. I don't share 100% of it. I might not even share 50% of it. But I share quite a bit. I mean, there are a lot of people who are like, Arey, baskar, yaar, how much are you going to post? But I enjoy it. It's not something I do because someone's paying me to do it. I mean, 90% of the shit I do on my blog is not paid. I enjoy it immensely. So if you're going to get into blogging or social media only as a way to get paid gigs, I don't think that's the right reason to start it. You must find something that you enjoy doing, because it gets tiring. It's exhausting. It's a lot of work. And if you are only motivated by money, what are you going to do when the money stops? If for some reason tomorrow this digital economy collapses, what do you have to fall back on? If tomorrow suddenly all brands decide that, hey, you know what, we don't need these influencers anymore, they're just, getting really snobby and they don't listen to us anymore and they're asking for too much money, you're done. Are you still going to want to blog? If the answer to that question is yes, God, I will still blog, then this is for you. This is for you. Do it. Don't wait anymore. Don't wait for anyone to validate it. Just start it. And it might be shit in the early days. God, I don't even want to go back and look at what my blog was like in 2004. Like the kind of stuff I used to write and the language. But look at it now. I think it looks amazing now. I think I want to go to my blog and I look at it every day and I'm like, fuck, these images are awesome. I did this. There are times like that. Not always, of course. Most of the times I'm really too anxious, like, oh my God, I published it. It's 80-20. Like, 80% of the time I'm quite pleased with it. 20% of the time I'm like, should I like remove it? Like, so, but no, it's never too late. Someone on Twitter commented when I said that that it's never too late to be an engineer, and they commented, well, engineering colleges have an age limit. First of all, it was a total troll comment, because what? You have to go to college to become an engineer? Sure, there are colleges that don't have an age limit. If you're old, you can do it. It might not be a government qualified college, or I'm sure you can go abroad and do it if you have that kind of money or inclination and you really want to be an engineer, for example. So no, it's never too late to be an engineer, and blogging doesn't require, or even photography doesn't require, there's no age limit, there are no entrance exams, there's no college you need to go to. So you can just basically pick up a camera and just start. Like, I don't even understand what people are waiting for. I have close friends I have been telling for the last 5 years to start vlogging, and they just don't. And these are people who, there's one who's a writer, and she writes for magazines and publications, and I did get her to start the blog, but she hasn't been doing it regularly. You have to do it regularly. If it is not something that you think you will like doing, then it's not going to be sustainable. At some point you're going to get bored. At some point you're going to think that it's too much work. So you need to be you need to be a little mad, I guess, to be a blogger in that sense. But definitely have something to fall back on. So you can have like a writing career. Like, I have a friend who's a head of beauty at a bunch of print publications recently, and now she has her own blog where she writes about beauty, but she also has writing gigs from other magazines that she writes for and gets paid for, and she consults some beauty brands as well. So you need to have a side business. It can't just be, oh, I'm now writing a blog and so you should pay me. That's not how it works. That's not the only thing that makes you influential. What makes you influential is going and meeting people, working with people, and not necessarily always related to, oh, I'm going to blog this and I'm going to get paid. It's a gig that you do on the side, that you are involved with certain people, certain publications, certain brands, and then other brands look at it and they're like, hey, we need to be on her blog, we need to get her to shoot this campaign, we need to get her to wear our clothes, and that's how it goes. So yeah, the short answer, like I said, was no, it's not too late. If you have been thinking about it, what are you waiting for? Do it. But also go in with the awareness that it will take time. I would say look at a goal of a minimum of 5 years at the very least. And I think the 10-year mark is where you might start feeling that, okay, yes, this is working. I still don't feel that it's working. So I actually started blogging in 2004, but my Naina.co blog is more 2009, 2010 vintage. So this is only 6 years old. The actual Naina.co blog, where I started writing about lifestyle and sharing my photographs, etc., is only 6 years old, and I don't feel like it's doing as well as it can be. Again, 90% of my assignments are not paid, and that's by choice, because I really enjoy blogging. So now, this portrait series, for example, no one's paying me to do it. It's just I really like doing it. So it's 6 years. I think maybe around the 10-year mark, where I have been doing this consistently over a period of 10 years, maybe 12, is when I will probably be at a point where I'll be like, okay, you know what, I think I'm here now. I think I'll feel satisfied. At least, fingers crossed, I'm hoping I'll be satisfied. With creative people, that's a big problem. We're never satisfied. Something or the other is always happening or changing, or our opinions are changing, and it's like, oh my god, I don't like this anymore, what do I do now? Which is why I feel that I need to keep coming up with these new series that I keep doing. There's a new hashtag, Eyes for Street Style, Eyes for People, Eyes for Destinations, and what the fuck Naina. So there's always something new that I want to do, because I personally get bored really quickly. So I need something new that catches my interest, and if I enjoy doing it, then I do it like over a longer period of time. So yeah, please go blog, please but definitely have a blog. Don't just focus on Instagram, because you need to have a portfolio. That's your portfolio. So even if you're, for example, a physiotherapist who probably doesn't even have photos, right, but you still come and write about this case study that you did with the client and how they went from day one to the end of 3 months of their treatment with you. You must write that entire thing down in a blog and share your story. And if it's a long story, you can do like a 10-part story. You don't have to write the entire 3 months experience in one go, right? You can get client testimonials and you can post them on your blog on a monthly, weekly basis. And then you have, some photos that you take with the client and, with a selfie with the client and say, hey, this is my new client, or I just cured them of this shoulder pain that had been bothering them for 30 years and now it's gone in 3 months. That can be your stuff that you post on your Instagram. Or you can post your other stuff on Instagram, like you make a new clinic, for example. Or you buy a new bike, for example. But it's your life. You're documenting your life. And I think that's important, because 10 years on the line, if you want to turn around and look at what you were doing 10 years ago, it's nice. you get perspective of, where you were. And it's nice to know that you've evolved, you've changed, you do better now, the quality of your work has become better. Who were your clients 10 years ago who helped you? Maybe 5 years later you send them a thank you note and they'll be like, whoa, okay, she still remembers us. Because it's easy to forget these things when you live daily and you're so busy, and the things that occupy your attention, every hour there's something new that's happening. So for me, I use the blog like that I look at it, 6 years ago, and I'm like, oh my god, who's the client that I did my first logo for? And I can just go back to my blog and I can look at my branding section and I'm like, hey, that's the guy I did it for. I know who it was. I know what the logo was. I think it's important for us to do that. It's if you are going to be a better version of yourself tomorrow, you need to know what you did yesterday, because otherwise on what basis are you going to make that improvement? And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So that's what I wanted to talk about. So whether it is Instagram, it's Snapchat, I'm not on Snapchat, or a YouTube channel. I mean, look at my YouTube channel. Girls who have like millions of followers, they do makeup and they hang out with celebrities. And my YouTube channel is probably always just going to be this, because this is what I enjoy. I like doing this. If you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer questions from my perspective. And sometimes I share some gossip also, like an anecdote or two that I might have heard. I'm also planning to, I don't know, let me know what you think about this. I'm planning to start talking about some of the work that I've done with clients. I'm not sure, like I'll share the name of the client so that you can go to the blog and look at what the story was. But I won't share specifics like, what got paid and things like that, because that's confidential. But yeah, I'm thinking of doing this where I talk about, okay, so this was the client, and I'll link to the blog story and I'll talk about how it happened. What was the brief that the client gave me? What was their initial email? What did I come back to them with? And how it was useful for my blog, my photography portfolio, and possibly useful for the brand, and how the brand ended up using that material that I created for them. So I don't know if this is a thing. Maybe I'll try it once and then you guys can let me know if you find it useful. And of course, if you guys have any questions, you can leave comments on the you'll have to come to the blog, or you can always email me. The email is n@naina.co. That's naina.co, and I will try to answer all sensible questions. And if you ask me silly questions, then I will tell you that they're silly, but I will still try to answer them on video. I will not respond on email because I get a lot of email. I hope you guys understand. And cool. So until next week, which will be the 29th episode. This was the 28th episode of the NainaRedhuExperience. Thank you for listening. Please send me your questions and take care. Bye.